Build a Graphic training is broken into 3 parts. The first part is quick start, a down and dirty way to get you cranking on the tool. Number 2 is tips and tricks to help you do more advanced things. And last but not least is geeky stuff, which help you become a Build a Graphic power user. Now, all of these things work together to help you make amazing infographics very, very quickly. When it comes to getting started with Build a Graphic, it's really important to understand that there's 2 ways you can use it. You can build your graphic using the text that you have on your slide. Alternatively, you can use Prebuilt Graphics. I found that using both of these approaches together ensure you're able to make amazing content very, very fast. Build a graphic from scratch. How does it work? So if I were to take text on my slide, this is standard text that I would see. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Build a Graphic tab in my ribbon right here, and I'm going to click on the Build a Graphic tab, and notice I have different tools. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to chunk my text. It breaks the text into little bite-sized pieces. And I have 3 options. I can go by sentence, bullet, or paragraph. In this instance, I'm going to go by paragraph. So now you'll see every piece is broken up into its own discrete text box, or individual text box, I should say. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Build a Graphic tab, and what it does under Insert Graphics is it analyzes all the keywords and phrases on your slide, and if there is a keyword associated with a visual, it gives you that word and visual association. So for example, 3-tier escalation standard operating procedure, I'm going to look for what visuals communicate the concept of 3. And you'll see, depending upon the graphic, there could be a few or hundreds of examples to communicate that information. So I'm going to choose this graphic right here, which is kind of like a 3-tiered or 3-stepped approach. So the next thing I'm going to do is, if you look at my next text box, I'm going to go down the line, text box to text box. We have a 3-tiered help desk solution for computer issues and problems. Our SOP, our standard operating procedure, escalates based on complexity. Now, it is my opinion that this visual communicates that information, so I'm going to chuck that text. I no longer need it because I think that visual supports it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to decrease my font size so that I can accommodate my new visual. I'm going to go to my Home tab, which is right here, and I'm going to scroll over here to my decrease font size, and I'm going to slowly but surely decrease the font size to something I'm happy with. I'm going to increase the scale of my graphic element. If you notice in the corner, you have little nodes that help you scale something. I'm going to click on that node, and I'm going to scale it up. So now I'm going to locate or co-locate the text with the appropriate element on my slide. So tier 1 would be located next to the step 1, and tier 2 would be located next to step 2 because it makes the most sense, and then tier 3 would be located next to step 3. So I'm going to keep these together, and now I'm going to continue to go step by step through those text boxes. So tier 1 issues are resolved automatically via the AI system. So I'm going to go back to my Build a Graphic tab, choose Insert Graphic, found the word automatically, and I'll see what visuals pop up. I'm going to choose this graphic. Click on it, it appears. Now, all the graphics in Build a Graphic are vector-based, which means that I can click on them and modify any element, any asset, any component, change the color, the style, so that it matches my brand standards or whatever I want to do. So everything is infinitely editable, and it has very low file sizes because they are vector-based assets, which simply means low file size is really easy to edit. So I'm going to scale this down, and I'm going to locate it on the appropriate step. Next is tier 2 issues are resolved by remote service technician. All right, so I'm going to go to my Build a Graphic tab, Insert Graphic, see if I can find one of those words, and son of a gun, I found technician. Let's see what pops up. I'm looking at the graphics, and I like this graphic. So I'm going to place this here. I'm going to scale it down, clicking on the reshape node, and locate it on the appropriate step. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose tier 3 issues are resolved by an IT service mechanic. All right, so I'm going to get Insert Graphic, see if I can find one of those words, and son of a gun, I did. I found mechanic, and then I'm going to look through here to see something that I like. I'm scroll through. Oh, I like this one. I'm going to click this, and I'm going to scale it down. scale it down. So now what I've done is I've taken my words using Build a Graphic from scratch, and I've used the individual graphic assets to create a very specific visual, an infographic. I could alternatively use a kit of parts. So Build a Graphic has a kit of parts to help you build pipe graphics, let's say. So now, for example, I can connect different pieces. So let's say I want to connect this piece with that piece. So I simply position it so that they're connected. I can piece these together to make graphics that look like this, or that look like this, or that look like this. So I'm able to take those pieces and components and modify and connect, kind of like, think Legos, connect the pieces that way. I can also modify the style. So I could easily, because they are vector-based, I could easily say, hey, I want this element to be a different look and feel, or I want to highlight a piece from this graphic, so I click on it and I change the color. That approach allows me to do some pretty cool stuff, like this almost looks like a blueprint. Or I could colorize my graphic. So when I create graphics from scratch, know that you can use a kit of parts, or of course use those words to help you find a visual element that augments or supports that content. So that is building your graphic. The other thing you can do is use pre-built graphics, graphics that are already ready to go, and then you copy and paste your content into them. So in this instance, we have the concept of time. So you could edit this in any way that you want. So for example, I might not want this step right here, or I may want to get rid of the moon. I may want to get rid of this piece right here, change this text to whatever you want, and you can absolutely do so. Everything is editable. You can change the color, the style, the size, anything. Also, in the lower right corner, you'll notice that sometimes when appropriate, we have tips and tricks to help you use that graphic. So you'll also find many different ways of communicating the same information, the concept of time, or the concept of innovation, or disparate elements or modular elements coming together to form a new whole. These are all graphics that you can modify in any way that you want to make them your own. You can do some pretty amazing things because they are infinitely editable. When you type in your keywords or phrases, you'll find types of graphics that help you communicate what it is you're communicating at its core, be it transition or location, or perhaps you want to share news in an innovative, interesting, modern way, or maybe you have too much content and you want to make it look very interesting. You'll find different ways of doing that using Build a Graphic graphics by searching on keywords and phrases and concepts and things of that nature. There are so many different graphics from which to choose, and the library is constantly growing. It's constantly growing. So every time you check in, every time you get on Build a Graphic, do check in, and I'll show you a cool way you can find out if there are new graphics available. Another very helpful technique is to download, if you notice in the upper left corner, download the graphic cheat sheet. The graphic cheat sheet helps you pick the right graphic for whatever you're creating. So at its core, information is broken into, or content at its core is communicating things like hierarchy, architecture, structure, processor flow, etc. Once you figure out which row you're in, perhaps we're talking about relationship, you can choose from a host of different graphic types and find out what isn't working for you until you decide, yes, this is exactly what I want. Because you can see the graphics, play with them in Build a Graphic, in PowerPoint, and make sure it's going to work to send the right message to your specific target audience. And that's very important. So at its core, that's the fastest way to get up and running. So let me show you some really cool tips and tricks to get even better at Build a Graphic. So some of the things you can do is you can quickly change the style. I alluded to this earlier. So let's say I click on this graphic. Because it's vector-based, I can move her arms around. I can move everything around. So one of the things I can do is, let's say I want to outline, do a shape outline. If you notice, you can do a shape fill or shape outline. I'm going to do a shape outline, and I'm going to change the outline to, let's say, blue. So now if you notice, she has a blue outline around her. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on shape fill, and I have a choice of a bunch of different colors, I'm going to choose white. I'm going to fill her white. So now if you look, she looks like a blueprint almost, like an outline blueprint. So I quickly changed the style of my graphic with very little effort. The next thing I want to bring your attention to is ungrouping or grouping. Now, all the graphics are grouped hierarchically, which means that usually the graphics are just one giant group. When you choose Arrange, and then I click on, bring it down here to Ungroup, I click on Ungroup. Notice now my graphic is, now I have the stair steps that are grouped, and I have the text that are outside of that group. Everything is individual, so I can move things around. I can get rid of the shadow if I want to. Now, if I ungroup one more time, so I have my stairs selected, I'm going to choose Ungroup one more time, just one more time. Ungroup it, click it, and now what I can do is I can start deleting or removing those steps very, very easily, so that now I only have 8 steps in my graphic. So use group and ungroup. So now if I want, once I do that, be sure to regroup things. So when I say regroup, I mean go back to Arrange, go down to Group, and click Group. Whoop, user error. Click everything, click here. I'm going to choose Arrange, I'm going to choose Group, and now when I scale it, everything scales appropriately. Everything scales together. If I did not group it appropriately, if I were to accidentally not regroup it, I should say group it, then when I scale it, weird things happen. It's not exactly what I wanted. So definitely regroup things when you're done. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is flipping graphics. So a lot of the graphics can be flipped. So let's say you're not happy with the angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this person right here. Let's get rid of this. Click on this person right here. I'm going to choose Arrange, and one of my options is to go down to Rotate, and I can flip horizontal or vertical. So if you notice, if I'm going to copy this, copy, paste, move it over here, and I am going to choose Arrange, Rotate, Flip horizontal, and notice now he's facing the other direction. I can do the same thing with vertical. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to bring it down here. I'm going to choose, lots of ways you can do this. I'm going to choose Rotate. I'm going to choose Flip. I could choose Flip horizontal or Flip vertical. And notice the arrow points in the other direction. So use Flip horizontal and vertical with isometric graphics. Isometric being that they're the 3D graphics or certain two-dimensional graphics to make sure that it is oriented the way that you want. With this approach, I can create really cool graphics like this relatively easy. It's the same arrow, for example, flipped vertical over and over again with different assets. Also know that in the How-To button, if you click on under Build a Graphic, if I click on How-To, I am going to be able to download an isometric grid, and you can use that isometric grid to help you realign or align those isometric angled graphics, those 3D graphics, so you can create graphics that look like this. You're given a huge kit of parts again. Hundreds and hundreds, I think probably thousands, I haven't done the math yet, but we have so many different isometric graphics from which to choose, and they all work together. Because they're all the same angle, you have modular elements that allow you to create anything that you can imagine. For example, these are all isometric graphics created using the assets that you now have access to. And of course, many more are added over time. And if you don't see something that you'd really like, please, please, please just email us, and magically it'll go in our queue, and soon it will appear in your library. There's also a bunch of different graphic types that you can easily modify using that ungroup approach. So here we have kind of an S-curve process diagram. If I were to go to the Home tab, Arrange and Ungroup, you'll notice that now I can pull pieces off of it and move things around so that I can change all the positions. So you can change this, I can rotate it in any way that I want, and start creating my own shapes with these pieces. All of the graphics are modular in that you can modify them. If you're not happy, if you don't need something, you simply choose Arrange, Ungroup, and begin to delete the pieces you don't need. Multiple ungroups help you get to lower assets. Alternatively, you can click within a group. So right now we have one giant group. So at any point in time, I can click in that group and change it to anything that I want. So I can click within the group at any point and change anything. Everything is editable. Getting used to the software PowerPoint takes a little bit of time. And with a little bit of effort, you'll find that you're getting better and things are getting easier over time. Here's another example of flipping graphics. So I look at this graphic and let's say I want the poor or the red to be at the beginning of this dial graphic. Also notice that things are constructed so that they're intuitive. So if I wanted to rotate this needle, I could easily do that. I could rotate this needle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the graphic. I'm going to choose Arrange. I'm going to go down to Rotate, and I am going to go to Flip Horizontal. Now remember, currently green is on the left, red is on the right. If I flip horizontal, click it. Now if you notice, whoops, I did it 2 times. That was 2 times. That was 1 too many times. Click on Rotate, Flip. Notice now red is on the left, green is on the right. So you can flip graphics. I can also rotate the needle and change it to change the text to anything that I want because it is infinitely editable. You can click on objects or assets. So let's say I want to rotate this particular element right here, the knob, and then I want to show that it increases in the readout. So I can do it like that simply by clicking the element in the group. So again, I click on the group, click within the element, and then I can move things about. All of the graphics are going to function this way. So I can move the needles up, change the text in any way that I want. It is your prerogative what you would change. So in this instance, we have a thermometer graphic. Let's say we wanted to show we are at 90% of goal. I'm going to click on the asset, the graphic element, and I'm going to change the text to 90%. Let's say I have a scale graphic and I want to modify that graphic. Again, you'll notice there's a tip and trick at the bottom. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose Arrange. I'm going to choose Ungroup. Arrange, Ungroup. And now you'll notice everything's broken up into groups. I am going to rotate slightly the arm. I am going to move this up right here. And I'm going to move these 2 pieces down. One of the ways you can select multiple objects is by clicking on one object, then holding down the Shift key and clicking on the other object. Now I have both objects selected, so it allows me to move them together. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the little needle, and I'm going to rotate it to show that the position has moved to the right. So now I quickly was able to modify that scale graphic with very little effort. Here we have another example of a spiral graphic showing elements coming together. So what I want to do is I don't want all the colors. I want them all to be, let's say, a red color. So what I'm going to do is I am going to click on one of my objects. I'm going to go up to the Home tab and I'm going to double click the Format Painter. This is the Format Painter. So if I click on the Format Painter one time, it absorbs the style of the thing I already have selected. Right now, I have element 1 selected. So I'm going to double click it. If I double click it, then it remembers it every time I click until I hit the escape key. So now I want to quickly change every single color in my graphic to be that red color. So if you notice, all the colors are changing very, very quickly because I'm using my Format Painter and I double clicked on it to absorb the style and apply it. Then I hit escape and now my graphic is all one color. You can also take the graphics that you make and let's say I want to change the font. You can change the font to something. Let's say I like, I don't know, let's find something interesting. Let's find something that looks handwritten. Can I find something? Here we go. Freestyle script. Why not? Freestyle script. Oh, that's a terrible font. That's all right. You get the point. So then what I'm going to do is I am going to ungroup here. Let's say ungroup. And I'm going to isolate these assets right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to outline them with a gray color, like a dark gray color. I'm going to fill it with a white. And now I'm going to, under Shape Outline, One of my options is sketch lines. So if you notice I have sketch lines right here if you're using Microsoft 365. So I'm going to choose perhaps these sketch lines, and it's going to make it kind of look like a hand-sketched render. There's another cool trick. I can create something like this. There's another cool trick. So one of the things I found is that people often need to bring their content into Microsoft Word or something like that. So one of the things you can do is make sure that the graphic that you're building is the size you're going to need it in Microsoft Word. So let's say we have an 8.5 inch by 11 inch file in Microsoft Word with 1 inch margins. So if I have 8.5 inches wide and I take an inch margin off on the left, an inch margin off on the right, I now have a 6.5 inch area where I can put a graphic. So what you would do is you click on your graphic, you would choose your shape format, and you would make sure that under size, click on this little doohickey right there under size. You want to make sure that you've locked your aspect ratio. Always lock your aspect ratio. So again, under the shape format tab, make sure your object is selected. Choose this little doohickey right there. I don't know the technical word for it. And then make sure that you have locked your aspect ratio. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure my graphics width is the width it's supposed to be in Microsoft Word. So if I have 8.5 by 11, 1 inch margin on the left, 1 inch margin on the right, I have to have a 6.5 inch wide graphic. So now my graphic is 6.5 inches wide, and now I'm going to go back to home, and I'm going to decrease my font size until it's a size that looks nice, and it is a size that I'm happy with right now. That is 10 point or greater font. So as long as I'm happy with that. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it. I'm going to copy. I'm going to go here. Let's go to Microsoft Word. We're going to launch Word. And I'm going to open up my blank document. And I'm going to paste it. I'm going to paste it into my blank document. And now my font size is going to be the same font size it was in PowerPoint, and nothing's going to get distorted. Now when I copy and paste into PowerPoint or Microsoft Word, do notice sometimes I need to modify the formatting a little bit or tweak the formatting if I want to do it so that the text is searchable. The other thing I could do is insert it as a PDF, and there's other ways to do it. Do click on the How To button, and I show you 3 different ways to do what I just did. Alrighty, so that is a cool trick, a tip and trick to remember. The next thing is, now that we've covered tips and tricks, let's talk about some geeky stuff. Specifically, let's talk about the power of the software. So some of the things that you can do in Builder Graphics. So first of all, we covered chunking text. We know we can chunk text by sentence, bullet, or paragraph. We also know that we can insert a graphic based on the words that are on your slide. The other thing you can do is you can click on View Library. So when I click on View Library, that gives me access to the thousands and thousands of graphics in my library, and I can easily scan through them by clicking on the little scroll bar on the right and find all kinds of graphics that way. But even easier, so I have icons and symbols and graphics and infographics, pre-built graphics, and so forth. The other thing I could do is easily search via, like I would with the keywords on my slide, via keywords. So I'm going to type in the word process. So I typed in the word process down here, and I'm going to choose search. I choose search, and I'm going to see what pops up. So these are all the process graphics that pop up. I'm pretty sure, at least 1,000 different process graphics that I can choose from. Things that communicate the concept of process. Now at any point in time, I can modify, so you can click on reset and go back to my standard page. I can also choose cancel, which closes everything out, or I could hit this X in the upper right corner. I can also scale the size of this window by clicking on this little tab right here and then moving things about. I can click on it and I can scale it about. I can change the keywords. So if you notice, this particular graphic has these keywords down here, and I can edit those keywords. So let's say I want to add a keyword. I can delete any of the keywords, or I can modify it and say let's say I want this to represent my my ABC process. So if there's 2 words you're adding to this, put them in quotes. So if you're looking for a key phrase, absolutely add quotes. So ABC process. If I click change, save changes to processes, now every time I search for ABC processes, this graphic will pop up. You can add or delete. You can also add or delete your own graphic. So if at any point in time you don't like one of these graphics, I could click delete graphic and it's gone. And you can click on any one of these graphics here. Let's say I like this graphic and I want to choose insert graphic, which is right here. Insert graphic, then places the graphic on my slide. So I now have the graphic on my slide and it's completely editable. The other thing you can do is you can click on more graphics. So over time, we're constantly adding new collections to the library. So click on more graphics, follow the instructions at the top of the slide because the files that you download from here are going to be password protected. And Build a Graphic has the secret code to unlock these graphics. So follow this process. It's only 3 steps, super easy. And you're going to be able to download any one of these graphic libraries and add them to your collection. Or I should say, any one of these graphic collections and add them to your library. So let's download laptop graphics. So we're going to click on laptop graphics and we're going to choose save as. And you can save it anywhere on your hard drive. And we're going to save it on our desktop. So we're going to save it on our desktop. Once you've done that, you can close out. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose add to library, which is right here. I'm going to choose add to library because I just downloaded something I want to add. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to navigate to wherever I saved it on my laptop. In this instance, I saved it on my desktop. I'm going to choose OK. I'll get a dialog box that say it's importing that file. There's only 4 elements within that one, so I click OK. And then to find it, I simply click on View Library, and it will appear at the very bottom of my View Library window. So if I scroll all the way to the bottom on the right side, use a scroll bar, you'll see your new graphics are appearing right there. So that is how you do it, and new graphics are added all the time. Please check back frequently. If you don't see something you like, please reach out to us. So that's the geeky stuff I wanted to talk to you about. There's way more advanced things. If you're interested in it, please reach out to us. We can put on more tutorials to talk about some geekier, amazing things you can do with the elements that you create. So that's how you get you started very quickly, some tips and tricks to make you better at it, and some geeky stuff to make you a power user. Please do share. This tool is so helpful. We believe with all of our heart that it is a game changer. It will really help people communicate information more efficiently. It will improve understanding, recollection, and adoption. And I really appreciate your time. If you want any more information, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Enjoy, be safe, have a wonderful day.